Omagyanatimanasya Janansanasnaka Sakshanmilitam Yena Tasmai Sigurve Namah Shitchitayamanobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svamupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Siyu Siyuda Padakamanam Siyum Vaishnavamsa Siyupam Sagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shivshakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Chatpate Gopesha Kopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaura Radhe Vrindavanashvara Vishabhana Sutta Devi Panamama Hari Priye Pancha Kalptabhisha Kripa Sinavivisha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupada Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachari Desatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So this evening we will continue with the study of Nectar of Instruction. We were looking at the third verse Utsanishyadaya tatat kama pravachtanat Sangatyaga Satovite Satbir Bhaktir Prasidati. This verse mentions 6 principles favorable to pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles, abandoning association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of previous acharyas. We are now discussing acting according to the regulative principles. The Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pad Sevanam Arcanam Vanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmani Vednam. And last week we discussed that Kirtanam and the offenses to be avoided while chanting. Today we will look at Smaranam, remembering that so after hearing and chanting, we should come, which purifies our heart, we should come to Smaranam, continuous Smaranam. So in the Nectar of Devotion, Smaranam is described, remembrance, as follows. So Srila Prabhupada writes, he gives us a summary of Nectar of Devotion, and in that summary, on the remembrance, he writes, some way or other, if someone establishes his mind, establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. So remembrance means living in a relationship with Krishna every moment. About this remembrance, there's a nice statement in the Vishnu Purana where it is said, simply, by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities becomes eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me always remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. In the Padma Purana, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, because if someone remembers him, either at the time of death or during a span of life, he becomes freed from all sinful reactions. So that's a principle. There, like it's mentioned in Sri Upanishad, that remembering the Supreme Lord. If we remember the Supreme Lord, then the Supreme Lord will cleanse our minds. The Lord is antiseptic. He cleanses all impurities from the mind just by remembering Him. So that is the purpose. First we hear, and then we chant, and that must lead to constant remembrance. Because further in the next of instruction, that this is in the purport of text 5, which explains how we should deal with different levels of devotees. That text 5 says, one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord, and one should offer obeisance to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, Diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. In the purport, that then this is how to deal with devotees. And it's mentioned the pure devotee who chants always the holy name, that and has lost the tendency to criticize others. Now, text 8 of Nectar of Instruction gives us a clue of the mind, of the remembrance, state of remembrance of Krishna, of such a pure devotee, that this verse says, the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes. So this verse gives a little more detail. What should we remember? First, the Lord's name, and from that will come His transcendental form, His qualities. And then we enter His pastime, just by chanting that. And then in this way one should reside in Vraj and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. This is a very advanced level. It's advanced level where the prema bhakti really enters Krishna's unmanifest pastimes, that aprakat lila. But in the purport, yes, Prabhupada speaks about this Smaranam. He says there are 5 stages in the chanting of remembrance Krishna. That so he writes, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smaranam. So there are 5 stages of this remembrance, Krishna Smaranam. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. So first, we try to remember Krishna. Or let's say, this is not based on our own endeavor. If our mind becomes purified, we become attracted to Krishna, and naturally we begin to remember Krishna. It's natural. It's not a great endeavor of the mind. It's not a technical thing. It's from the heart. You become attracted. In the heart is the soul. You become attracted. First you remember Krishna, and later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. And when it's uninterrupted, then these different stages will happen. First, Krishna's form will manifest, then his qualities, and then his eternal pastimes. So Prabhupada also explains that in some of his lectures I've heard, thus the process of entering Krishna's aprakat lila, of always remembering Krishna, so constant living in a relationship with Krishna. That so Prabhupada was also on that level. And he said, when a devotee in New York was speaking at the Sunday feast at some guest, he said, our spiritual master has written this book on inspiration of Krishna for me within the heart. And Prabhupada heard that and said, no, Krishna has dictated me this, has given me this knowledge directly, that I did not write these books. That no, it is Krishna himself who wrote these books. Well, he just dictated me directly. So there's a direct relationship, in other words. Okay, so now I will read the first part of the purport of Smaranam in Prahlad's verses describing the 9 poses of devotional service. And we discussed last time the Sevanam and Kirtanam and now Smaranam. So if one regularly performs the process of hearing and chanting, and after the core of one's heart is cleansed, Smaranam, remembering is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadev Goswami tells King Parikshit, Etan nirvityamananam ichyatam akuto bayam yoginam nipanirnitam harer namanu kirtanam. O King, for great yogis who have completely renounced all material connections, for those who desire all material enjoyment, and those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended. According to different relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are varieties of Namanu Kirtanam, chanting of the holy name, and thus, according to different relationships and mellows, there are 5 kinds of remembering. These are as follows. A. Conducting research into the worship of a particular form of the Lord. That means, yes, we are reading about a particular form of the Lord. We are hearing about it. And then B. Concentrating the mind on one subject and withdrawing the minds from activities of thinking, feeling, and willing from all other subjects. So that's concentration of the mind. That is a state of meditation. One's mind must be pure for that, because if the mind is impure, the mind will take you away from that concentration. So that's practically the platform of liberation. Then C, concentrating upon a particular form of the Lord. So the next stage is meditation. So the previous stage B is pratyahara, withdrawing one's mind from all other activities, and then meditation. And then concentrating one's mind constantly on a form, on the form of the Lord. This is called dhruvan nusmriti, or perfect meditation. And that leads then to awakening a liking for concentration upon a particular form that's called samadhi or trance. So that's constant meditation. So mental concentration upon a particular pastime of the Lord in particular circumstances called remembrance. Therefore, samadhi trance can be possible in 5 different ways in terms of one's relationship. Specifically, the trance of devotees on the stage of neutrality is called mental concentration. So yes, these are different levels of absorption, Smaranam, and these different levels of absorption of Smaranam, one can also attain through the chanting of the holy name. So Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12295. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tadbhava lipsuna karya vajralokanusarata. In the transcendental realm of Vrajdam, one should serve the Supreme Lord. Lord Sri Krishna, with a feeling similar to that of his associates, and one should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the states of sadhana, spiritual practice executed in the states of bondage, and in the states of sadhya, God realization. When one is spiritually when one is a siddha purusha or spiritually advanced soul, perfect soul. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he says, one who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, quality, pastimes, and so on. In this way, after developing a taste for such thing, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna, Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. But then Prabhupada writes, first one must do Shravan, hearing, and then one must come to Varanadasa, that accepting the Lord in one's heart after hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing about his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes constantly. And then one can start to remember. So it's a process to come to that. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated. It's called meditation. When meditation expands, then it becomes anusmrita, uninterrupted. And then one enters samadhi. And then after that, when one has developed that, one comes to his constitutional position, who we really are. So that is important. So this is the first item, Smaranam, remembering Krishna, and that will lead us to the perfection. So these first three items now we discussed. That the first item was Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting, and we discussed all the offenses to be avoided, and then the process of remembering Krishna. And that's part of the Bhagavad Vidhi. That is in itself sufficient to attain perfection. But besides the Bhagavad Vidhi, there is the Pancharatma Vidhi, the process of deity worship. And these are the next the next items of the regulative principles of devotional service. Pada Sevanam, Arcanam Vanam Dasyam, Atmani Vedanam. This is the Pancharatma Vidhi. Are there questions until now? So then we will continue with this deity worship and understanding the importance of it. That's Pancharatma Vidhi that we are following in our movement, the Narada Pancharatra. Ratna means night, Pancha means 5. So Ketav and Madhav were 2 demons at the beginning of creation. There were, even before the creation of Brahma, there were demons. And it is said in the Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Lord Brahma had received the Vedic knowledge to the heart, but before he had to do tapasya for many years. It took a long time. But these 2 demons, Kaitav and Madhav, Madhu, I think it's Madhu, yeah. They stole the Vedas from the mind of Brahma, a special theft, the subtle theft. They stole all the Vedas and Brahma lost it. And Brahma prayed to the Supreme Lord. Sorry. And he said, yeah, look, it took so long to get these Vedas, and I lost them. Could you tell me the same again, but first in essence? In essence. So the Lord agreed, and he gave the essence in 5 nights. Therefore it's called Pancharatna. And Pancharatna is the method for worshipping the Supreme Lord, that which is described in these last 6 items of the 9 items of devotional service. Yeah. That and this knowledge was given to Narada, and Narada brought it to us under a certain form, which is called therefore we call it Narada Pancharatma. Well, because it came down to Narada. So we know that when Narad met Dhruva Maharaj, he instructed Dhruva Maharaj to make a deity and concentrate his mind on the deity. That while chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and at the same time do his austerities. So this deity worship, this is one instance where Narada Muni instructed his disciple to perform this deity worship. But deity worship is a very fine art. And here it starts with Pada Sevanam. That can someone read Pada Sevanam, this paragraph which is on the screen?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Please.
Pada Savanam, according to one's taste and strength, hearing, chanting, and remembrance, may be followed by Pada Swanam. One obtains the perfection of remembering when one constantly thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord. Being intensely attached to thinking of the Lord's lotus feet is called Pada Savanam. When one is particularly adherent to the process of Pada Savanam, this process gradually includes other processes such as seeing the form of the Lord, touching the form of the Lord, circumambulating the form of the or temple of the Lord, visiting such places as Jagannath Puri, Dvarka, Mathura, to see the Lord's form, and bathing in the Ganga or Yamuna. Bathing in the Ganga and serving a pure Vaishnava are also known as Tadiya Upansanam. This is also Pada Savanam. The word Tadiya means in relationship with the Lord. Service to the Vaishnava, Tulasi, Ganga, and Yamuna are included in the Pada Savanam. All these processes of Pada Savanam help one advance in spiritual life very quickly. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So this is what Prabhupada writes. These processes of Pada Sevanam help one to advance in spiritual life very quickly. I think that's all what we want. That so, but it says according to one's taste, strength, hearing, chanting, and remembrance may be followed by Pada Sevanam. It says according to one's taste, and that so we, according to one's taste, attraction, we may we may worship different forms of deities, but the most potent form of deity to be worshipped in this Kali Yuga is Gauranitai, because Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna together. Radha Krishna Naya Anga. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Naya Anga. Is Krishna in the mood of Srimad Radharani, which is most merciful, and we need that mercy of Srimad Radharani in this Kali Yuga to make spiritual advancement. Because soon it will be Garpunim, and yes, that this mercy is essential to worship the Lord, the form of the Lord. In our Radha Krishna temples, before bathing the deity, worshipping the deity, doing this Pada Sevanam, that one first worships the Guru and Srila Prabhupada, and then one meditates on the Guru in association of Lord Chaitanya and worships Lord Chaitanya. And then one worships Radha Krishna. So this is very important. Understanding who Lord Chaitanya is to this to do this Pada Sevanam. But because only by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya can we give up these offenses and worship the Supreme Lord in his deity form. The deity form is non-different from Krishna. That Prabhupada mentioned in many lectures, the deity is like a post box. When you go to an official post box, you post your letter, it will get to destination. But when you put it in another post box, nothing will happen. It will get lost. So this is an authorized process. The form of the Lord is described in the Vedic literature. It's not an imagination. That Lord, there are many transcendental forms, and the primary form is Krishna. That because Krishna still Bhagavan Swayam is the fountainhead of all other incarnations. So one obtains the perfection of remembering when one constantly thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord. So the purpose is to become attached to thinking of the Lord. And that's called Pada Sevanam. It's in becoming attached to thinking of the Lord. If we go to Bhagavad Gita, then I think it's 4 verse, yeah, 5, verse 5, Bhagavad Gita. Yat Sankhya Papadeshtanam Tatkukher Apikamyate Ekasam Samsayogam Sa Yapasatya Pashyati. One who knows that a position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, but who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. In the purport of this verse, Prabhupada says that the attachment for matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. So if we become attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, we become detached from this world. It is the same. So that is important, that a devotee thinks always on the lotus feet of the Lord, takes shelter of the lotus feet. And especially in Kali Yuga, we take shelter at Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, their lotus feet. And that will protect us in this Kali Yuga. So when one is particularly adherent to the process of Pada Sevanam, this process generally includes other processes, such as seeing the form of the Lord, touching the form of the Lord, circumambulating the temple of the Lord. Seeing the form of the Lord, that's the first, that we can see the form of the Lord in the form of a picture. We can see the form of the Lord in our mind if we are a little advanced. That seeing the form of the Lord is very important. Therefore, we have Mangal Arti in the morning. We go to see the form of the Lord. And that is Mangal. That is an auspicious beginning. Then touching the form of the Lord. But we can only touch the form of the Lord if we are pure. That we can touch it with the permission of the spiritual master. We get second initiation and we can touch the form of the Lord, which is purifying. And then circumambulating the form or temple of the Lord. So in many temples, the devotees in the morning go with the Prabhupada Murti and they circumambulating the deity 3 times. That is a tradition in many temples, this circumambulation. So going around the deity, around the temple, 3 times. That and then he say visiting that places Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, and Mathura. So that to see the Lord and bathing in the Ganga and the Yamuna. So Jagannath Puri and Dwarka is the same mood that also Mathura. That so going to see the Lord in these places is very auspicious. And bathing in the Ganges or the Yamuna. That and then it says bathing in the Ganga and serving pure Vaishnava is also known as Tadiya Upashanam, also Pada Sevanam. So this is very important, serving the devotees. We may not be pure to serve Krishna directly, but we can serve the devotees. And that is counted as on the same level. That therefore we serve the spiritual master, we serve all the devotees, that we give up our false ego as a controller. And this serving is very important. The serving the Vaishnavas means cooperation and tolerance. Cooperation and tolerance is so important that and that our mind may make obstacles. We may be bad, or we are maybe sometimes treated by devotees, but we should put that aside and tolerate and cooperate, and that will make us advance. If we are not doing that, then that's an obstacle. So that is also Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam means Tadiya. Everything in relation to the Lord is worshipable. That so, and it's a service to the Vaishnava, Tulsi, Ganges, and Yamuna are included in Pada Sevanam. So every morning we should do Tulsi Arti. At least we should sing the song before a picture of Tulsi. Even if we are alone, we should do that every day. That even if we are alone, that sing the song, learn the meaning, get feeling in the song. And that feeling will bring out your natural feelings for your relationship with Krishna just by worshipping Tulsi every day. That by going to the Ganges and Yamuna, that the Brahmins, they turn water into Ganges, Ganges, Yamuna, Shiva, and so on. This is a mantra that and Yamuna, worship of the Yamuna, service of the Yamuna is included in Pada Sevanam. Sometimes the devotees offer flowers to the Yamuna. That so this process of Pada Sevanam is quite more elaborate than just worshipping the lotus feet of the deity. That it includes the worship of the devotees, the worship of Tulsi, and that worship of Ganga, taking bath. That so this is the meaning of Pada Sevanam. Any questions? Otherwise, you can continue. Can someone read point 5 Arcanam, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Turn Arcanam.
Arcanam. After Padasevanam comes the process of Arcanam, worship of the deity. If one is interested in the process of Arcanam, one must positively take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and learn the process from him. There are many books for Archana, especially Narad Pancharatra. In this age, the Pancharatra system is particularly recommended for Archana, deity worship. There are two systems of Archana, the Bhagavata system and Pancharatriki system. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no recommendation of Pancharatriki worship because in this Kali Yuga, even without deity worship, everything can be perfectly performed simply through hearing, chanting, remembering, and worship of the lotus feet of the Lord. Should I continue?
I will read the verse. Rupa Goswami states, Shri Vishnu Shavane Parikshidabhava Vasaya Ki Kirtane Pralada Smarane Tadangri Bhajani Lakshmi Pitu Pujane Akorastva Bivadane Kapipatir Tasyeta Sakir Yuna Sarvasvatma Nivedana Valera Bhut Krishna Paptir Eshamparam. So, Parikshit Maharaj attained salvation simply by hearing, and Sukadev Goswami attained salvation simply by chanting. Prahlad Maharaj attained salvation by remembering the Lord. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, attained perfection by the worship of the Lord's lotus feet. Prithu Maharaj attained salvation by worshipping the deity of the Lord. Akura attained salvation by offering prayers, Hanuman by rendering service, Arjuna by establishing friendship with the Lord, Bali Maharaj by offering everything to the service of the Lord. All these great devotees served the Lord according to a particular process, but every one of them attained salvation and became eligible to return home, back to Godhead. We go back. So after Pada Sevanam comes the process of Archanam, worship of the deity. So the first thing that Prabhupada writes is, before worshipping the deity, one must have taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and learn from him how to worship the deity. So this is important. This is the first items in the nectar of devotion. 64 items are described of devotional service, and the first 10 items of devotional service, they are the first 10 items. They are things we have to do. Next 10 items are things to be avoided. And the next 44 items are things to are all explaining deity worship. It's all explained in 44 items of deity worship. So this devotional service is described in Nectar of Devotion. And the basic principles of the process of devotion in the beginning is first accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. That's the first thing. that one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. But that means also becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. Point 3 is obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Then, of course, initiation means accepting to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, and then one must follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So even if you are initiated, if you are not following the instructions of the spiritual master, you are not taking shelter, and that so one must obey to the orders of the spiritual master and following in the footsteps of great acharyas under the direction of the spiritual master. One should inquire from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. So one must then be prepared to give up everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That one must also reside in a holy place. What does it mean? It means your home, you must turn into a holy place, worshipping the deity or worshipping Krishna in the form of his picture. But that, and then one must come to the point of accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world as far as this is necessary. That one should observe ekadashis and so on. So these are the 10 items to be considered. One must follow these 10 items. That's the meaning here of positively taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Then one has to learn the process from him. What does it mean, learning the process? This process means the first part is before worshipping the deity. What must you do? That Rupa Goswami says, one must decorate the body with tilak, which is a sign of the Vaishnavas. Yes, so one should learn how to bow down before the spiritual master. How should one accept flowers and garlands that had been offered to the deity and the spiritual master? One should put them on his body. That as soon as one visits a temple of the Lord, one must stand up. That when the deity is carried around the temple, one should follow it in a procession. That so a devotee should visit a temple best once or twice every day. That may not always be practical, but we do what's possible. One must circumambulate the temple building. Rupa Goswami said, one must worship the deity in the temple according to regulative principles. What are these regulative principles? One must offer arti and offer different preparations, decorate the deity, dress the deity, bathe the deity. So one must render personal service to the deities. And one must sing before the deities. Always chanting should be gone on in the temple. And one must chant. One must offer prayers. One must chant is important. We are not chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra. One cannot worship the deities. That is the standard. Chanting is the most important process in Kali Yuga. And without the chanting, one cannot attain the purity to worship the deities. That One must offer prayers to the deities. You can have different deities with different prayers. For the moment, I'm worshipping Salagram Shilas, 11 Salagram Shilas. Somewhere or other, they came to me, sent by mail by a devotee who is going to leave his body, and asked me to worship this Salagram Shilas. I don't know the identity of the Salagram Shilas, but I'm worshipping them by the prayer of the 10 Das Avatar song from Gita Govinda by Jayadev. That includes all the incarnations. So according to the situation, one must offer prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. We can offer the prayers of Prahlad, especially in the 5th canto, 2 beautiful prayers. So according to the deity, to the identity of the deity, we can offer different prayers. And that will develop our relationship with the deity. So, of course, Prabhupada explains in the purport, I've explained that there is the Bhagavad system and the Pancharataka system. So the Bhagavatam does not recommend the Pancharataka system because that's the process for Dvapara Yuga, not Kali Yuga, but still we practice it on the strength of the purity attained by the chanting in Kali Yuga. We can also worship the deity. Otherwise, there are no qualified Brahmins to worship the deities in Kali Yuga. But even without deity worship, one can perform hearing, chanting, remembering, and worship. That's true. But for Prabhupada stressed that for householders, it is compulsory to worship the deity, install the deity. So that's important. Of course, this goes together, the hearing of the Bhagavatam and deity worship. Lord Chaitanya would hear the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj, and after hearing it, he said, start again. He would start again, and again. He's so attracted to hearing this pastime that's going together. If we hear the Bhagavatam, then we get knowledge about Krishna in all his incarnations. And that helps to develop our devotional feeling in the field of deity worship. So that's always going together, this hearing the Bhagavatam and deity worship. One should discuss the date in the morning, have class in the temple room before the deity, and that helps to develop our relationship with Krishna. And then, of course, all these examples are given of great devotees who attained the perfection by one of these processes, of course, is Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was hearing and Sukadeva Goswami was speaking. So they both attained perfection by that, one by hearing, the other by speaking. Prabhupada said many times they are both pure devotees, are on the same level, but one is hearing, the other is speaking. And Prahlad Maharaj remembering Lakshmi Devi, worshipping the lotus fruit. Eternally she's at the Lord's breast and is worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Lakshmi is never separated from the Lord, intimately related. Wherever we worship Krishna, Lakshmi is there. Otherwise, Lakshmi is Shanshala, going from one place to another. Prithu Maharaj attained salvation by worshipping the deity of the Lord. Just by worship. Also, Swayambhava Manu was worshipping the deity. as mentioned. Akura attained salvation by prayers. This when Akura went to Vrindavan, that he offered all these prayers, beautiful prayers. Hanuman is in Dasa Ras, is this servitude, and Arjuna, friendship. Bali Maharaj, by offering everything to the service of the Lord, he surrendered everything. So there are different processes, but they are all attained the perfection and return back to God at Srila Prabhupada. So, yes, we will continue here next week. Any questions, please?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, Charanat Charanpur, please.
And thank you. It's clear that Srila Prabhupada is saying that this kirtanam is the most important for us, and that the chanting is supporting all the other processes. I was thinking of Smaranam, and I had heard different things at times about doing that in Kali Yuga. If you do mental worship, that you get benefit for that. Like, for instance, someone was saying if you can't go to Radha Kund, you can worship it mentally, you can think about it. Is this related to Smaranam, and is this bona fide?
That is bona fide, but one must be advanced to do that. If one's mind is still contaminated, one's mind is one's enemy, and one may make offenses in the mind that even during this Smaranam, that so it's advanced, that because we try to think of Krishna, but a few months later the mind goes somewhere else. It is very, very difficult. But yes, but usually before we can do that with feeling, we have to hear a lot. Hear a lot about what we are going to meditate on and become attracted to it. And when we become attracted, then meditation becomes easier. So that taste must be there. That taste we get by association of devotees who have taste, that who are advanced, that and they can give us taste by hearing from them. And that helps us to become attracted. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you very much. Then we continue this to discuss this Pancharatra next week. Thank you so much. Jai Prabhupada. Just for next week, we will have the Bhagavatam class on Tuesday, not on Wednesday, because Wednesday I have to undergo dental surgery. So Tuesday, Bhagavatam class next week. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.